Hey guys, it's Freak here, and welcome to episode 12 of my custom story creation tutorial for Amnesia Rebirth. And today we're going to be continuing our episodes on ghouls. Specifically in today's episode, we're going to be talking about the agent functions. Last episode we talked about ghoul commands, ghoul functions that we can use to kind of control our ghoul. Agent functions pretty much do the same thing. They control the ghoul in some way or another. So we're going to be talking about some more of those for more control over your ghouls. Again, there's a lot to cover when it comes to ghouls, so I'm breaking these up into multiple episodes. We still probably have another like 2 episodes, maybe more. I think next episode will probably be patrol nodes, or patrolling. But for this episode, just more commands on how to control your ghoul and kind of get, the exact, we get the ghoul exactly the way you want it, the behavior you want. So let's go ahead and start. I do have the level editor open here, but we actually won't be talking about anything in the level. I do want you guys to note that our ghoul is facing, the way we place them, he's facing down the hallway. We will be doing a command function that kind of has him look back at the player from spawn. So just take note, we placed him looking this way, and we're going to run a function that makes him look back towards the player. So other than that, we won't really be in the level editor very much. Also, another note, since we're going to kind of talk about it, if you click on the ghoul here and you look under the entities tab, under, I believe, agent AI, there's a setting called senses active. This is pretty much to toggle whether or not he can like hear the player, smell the player. If this is off, he's pretty much just gonna do like nothing, just stand there. So just to note, but that is useful sometimes when you're doing like patrol nodes. If you're gonna do, or not patrol nodes, but if you're gonna make them patrol through certain nodes, you could turn off senses active, and he will just completely ignore everything and just kind of go from point A to point B like you tell him to. So very useful to know how to turn that off and on when you need it. But other than that, we won't be in the level editor today. We're gonna go ahead and switch over to our CodeLight application. So let's go ahead and switch over. And I'll zoom you guys in, so we got a bunch of functions to get through. I'm gonna run a few of the ones I kind of want to show off, and then after that we will kind of just talk about some other ones, kind of like the way we've been doing it in the last few episodes. So let's go ahead and do that. So what I think, actually, I'm gonna pull up the level editor just to kind of show you guys a bit of an example of what exactly is gonna happen. But in our here, let me pull up the level editor here. In our starting area here where the player spawns, when he walks through this collide callback that we placed here, as you can see, we have the area right here. We have it just kind of like set him to be able to run. What I want to do just to test for today's episode, it probably won't be a permanent change. I want this to also trigger the spawning of this entity, and then we can do stuff to like kind of control them, and I'll show you guys exactly what we're gonna do here. But we're gonna use this callback. So for anybody that hasn't watched the previous episode, what this is, we set this up in episode 5, the basic scripting. But pretty much what it is, we have a trigger area here. So under here, and then we go to the very first option here, trigger. This is a trigger area. That's what it looks like when you place it. I'll go ahead and delete that one though. And then we place it, and in the tab here under area, we have a few options here. If we go under collide callback, what I'm doing is I'm having when the player collides with this entity, this trigger area, we're going to run a function on our script called onCollide player trigger 1. And if we go over to our script here, let me pull that up here. We go to our script here. You can see we have a function right here, onCollide player trigger 1, which pretty much sets the player to be able to run, and just prints like a debug message to let us know what's happening. So pretty much we're going to be working in here today just to kind of like show some examples and stuff. So let's go ahead and do that. So we'll go ahead and in case you don't know what these are, when this function executes, it can be in 2 states. It can be in state 1 or state -1. State 1 pretty much means that the player just entered the area, and then what we're saying otherwise, if anything else, we're just gonna return something. So nothing there. We're gonna go ahead and run this. I have it set to false here, so this pretty much means that I only run once. And yeah, so let's go ahead and start putting some code under here. So first thing we want to do, let's talk about, we'll talk about the face entity command. So first we're gonna be talking about agents commands. So if you type in agent underscore, you'll get all the agent commands. I made a slight mention to this at the end of the last episode, but yeah, there's a few things you can do here to kind of control the an agent, and an agent is pretty much like any like enemy that is like an NPC type of enemy, like a ghoul that kind of like runs around and stuff. So it doesn't just have to be a ghoul. Yeah, like set blinded, set deafened, you know, we got a few here, but I'm gonna talk about some of them here, but I'm gonna talk about the main ones I want to talk about first. And the first one I want to talk about is face entity. So what this will pretty much do is it'll instantly make an entity face another entity. So this doesn't have to be the player, but you can make it the player, and that's what we're gonna do in this example. So we'll go ahead and hit enter here just to kind of get our argument here written out. And what we're gonna do is we're typing the agent name. So the agent name is just the name of your ghoul in your level. So ours is called Ghoul Hallway, and we'll type that in then, Ghoul Hallway. Then we'll put a comma and a space, and we'll put another line here. And we want them to face the player. So there's only one player entity, so that's just gonna be player. So we'll just type in player there in the quotations as well. So what this will pretty much do, it'll force this agent, the ghoul, to face an entity, and the entity is the player. So it'll face the player. Of course, you don't have to. You can put a chair here. So if you have just to bring up the level editor for more examples, you know, if you tell it to face like table, it will be looking this way, and our table is called like table homemade 01. It will face it here, and again, this is our ghoul here called Ghoul Hallway. So yeah, you don't have to just do player, but in this case I want it to face the player, so we're gonna make them face the player. So that's one. The next one I want to talk about is the agent set auto. I messed it up here. Let me retype it here. Agent, so you guys can see the full list here. So agent set auto disable, and we're gonna do when out of sight active. So what this pretty much does is it will make the agent, the entity, disabled once it reaches a certain distance away from the player, and also can't be seen by the player as well. So we'll go ahead and hit enter to bring it in here. So what we'll pretty much do is we'll type in the name of the agent again, which is our ghoul. So we'll do Ghoul Hallway, and then we'll put a comma, a space, and then whether or not you want this to be active or not. So we do want this to be active. We're gonna test with it, so we're gonna hit true. We're gonna hit comma, space, and now this is the minimum distance you want to have the ghoul be away from the player before he potentially despawns. So we're gonna do 15.0f, so that's 15 distance units. If we go into our level, I'm not sure what measurement they use. I think they use like meters or something. I'm not 100% sure, but you can check the position here. So like this is the X, Y, and Z here where he's at. So he's at 11.25, and the reason I put 15, if we go here to the trigger area where it's triggered, and you can see our X is like 0.5, so it's about like 11 away roughly. It's 11 away. So what I ideally want to do when we go in to test this, I want to back up into this like corner here where I'll be farther than 15 away, which should be about past like maybe this point here, and then we should not see the ghoul should despawn. So that's what we're going to test. So that's why I'm putting 15, but of course you can put your own units, whatever you want and whatever is best for your custom story. So let's go ahead and switch back here. And let's go ahead and make sure we close this out with a semicolon here. And then we'll go to the next line. So now the next one I want to talk about is the agent set senses active. So what this pretty much does, I mentioned when we started the video that there was that toggle. This is pretty much a way of controlling that same toggle from within the script. Although there are a lot of times where you want to toggle this on and off. So whenever you don't want them to target the player and just kind of ignore the player, this would be the perfect time to disable this. If you wanted, if let's say you're playing a cutscene where the ghoul is like walking, you want him to walk in between rooms, but you don't want him to actually see the player. You turn off senses and then you have him just kind of walk by right in front of the player without having him see him. And then let's say you do want him to start, attacking the player at some point, then you trigger the senses active, and now he can actively hunt for the player. So we're gonna go ahead and do the quotations here, and again we're gonna type in Ghoul hallway here, and we'll go next, comma, space, and then this is whether we want to activate it or not. We're gonna set his senses to be false. So we'll do that, and we'll hit semicolon here to close out the function here. So we're gonna disable the ghoul's functions here. So let's go ahead and go to the new line. So there's two other ones I want to demonstrate in this video, and that's gonna be the next one, which is the agent set. It's gonna be auto, and you're gonna see it right here, set auto disable callback. So what this will pretty much do is, if we have this this function active here, the agent set auto disable when out of sight active. So when the ghoul despawns, we're gonna make a callback. So we'll click it here. We're gonna make a callback which has us run something that we want. So pretty much this since we set this to be true, the ghoul will despawn, and since we are creating a callback here, we're specifying what function we want to run that will execute our code, our lines, to make something happen in our script, in the level and everything. So it'll make more sense when I explain a little bit more. So let me just explain a little bit more. So let's go ahead and just fill out what goes in here. First thing that goes in here, again, the name of the agent. So it's going to be Ghoul hallway, and then we'll put a comma, space. So now this is going to be the name of your function that you want to execute, and we'll write the function right underneath this in a second. But yeah, this is just going to be the name of our function that we want to execute. This you name yourself. You can call it whatever you want. I'm going to call it on despawn, which just kind of makes sense, on despawn, or you can put like on auto despawn or something like that, but on despawn. And then we're going to put Ghoul hallway, and we're going to close out the function here with semicolon again. So what we're telling this is, if this is true, if this is true and enabled, and the ghoul despawns, the ghoul auto disables, we will have a callback here when that auto disable happens, and that disable callback we are calling on disable Ghoul hallway. So now we need to actually create this function here. So we're going to go outside of our function here, and we're going to create the function right here. And you might be wondering, how do I know how the function is formatted? Well, if we type this back in again, the set auto disable callback, you see here, the callback function, that was the second line here, function called when disabling happens, and it says syntax. So this is the syntax of that function, of that function that it was going to call. So this is how we have to format it. First we have to specify that it's going to be void. F is going to be the name of the function, and then the values that go inside of it is going to be this right here. So let's go ahead and clear this out here, and let's go ahead and write that function here. So as we saw, we're going to follow that format. So it's going to be void the function name, which is going to be this right here. It's going to be this right here. So we'll copy that, paste it right here, and we'll do open close parentheses. And on the inside of this, specified what we needed to put. So we're going to put const, for short for constant. But again, we're just typing in what it said. And we're going to do string space, and then we're going to say and in as entity. So that's exactly what it wanted us to put here for the function. Now we can do an open curly brace and close it out. And now we can go ahead and execute whatever we want here. So now we're in complete control of what we want to do. So when that ghoul gets automatically despawned, we can do whatever, like, you know, make the player say something like, oh, looks like the ghoul stopped chasing me, or looks like he's not here, or something like that. So this is your chance to write whatever you want, script whatever you want here. All I'm gonna do here is just write a message. We write a message using CLux, and it's gonna be add debug message. So just like we've been doing before, like this one here, and we're just gonna write the ghoul despawned. And of course, you can write whatever you want here. It doesn't have to be the ghoul despawn, and you can obviously run any other function you want, like, you know, like just like I explained. But we're just gonna do this one. All right. So the next function we're gonna talk about is gonna be agent set distance callback. So what this one will pretty much do is when the ghoul enters a radius or exits a radius around the player, you can have a function execute to do whatever you want. So let's go ahead and type in our values here. First one is going to be the name of our ghoul. Now this is going to be the name of our function. So this is going to be whatever we want, but I'm going to kind of stick with the syntax that the developers use. So we'll say on distance player ghoul hallway, and we'll put a comma and we'll space it here. And then what we're going to say is now we're going to specify the distance that you want this to execute on. So we're going to say 15.0f. And actually, we won't do 15.0f. We'll do 5.0f, because if we go past 15, it'll despawn. So just to test this out, we want to do 5.0f. And we'll do our semicolon here to close out the function. And this also has a callback. And again, you can check this the same way. Type in the function here, set distance callback, and you can see here the syntax: as function, name of the function, syntax, void function, and then int. So we'll go ahead and clear this out, and I'll show you guys how we're going to type it down here. Void, and we'll copy the name of our function here that we wrote, and we'll open and close here. And it wanted us to put an int in here, so we'll say int, and it didn't specify the actual name it had to be, so we can actually specify whatever we want here. I'm going to call it, kind of to follow with what the other functions, like the trigger functions do. They say alt state, so we'll do that, alt state, and we'll do open curly brace, and we'll hit enter to create the other one. And now what we want to do is, if you read the description of this one, it does specify what the two numbers are. So let's just type it in one more time. So you see here on affected distance, when agent enters this range, the callback function will be called with 1. When it exits, -1. So that number that's passing through the in alt state that we specified here will either be 1 or -1. So we'll do if all state equals 1, then we'll just say agent entered the range, and then we'll do since it's only gonna be 1 or -1, we can just say else agent left the range. So now pretty much when this will get called to this function here, and if it's 1, right here, then we know that the ghoul or the player entered the radius of the ghoul that we specified, which was 5. And otherwise, it's -1, which means that the player left or the ghoul left the radius of the player, and we can have something run here. So we can have whatever we want run inside here, and just like the last one, we're just gonna have a message print out. So we'll do that, and then we'll just say ghoul entered range. And we'll close it out here, and we'll copy this. We'll just put it here as well, and we'll just say left range. So that way we can kind of see in our debug message that this worked properly. That's pretty much all the ones I wanted to show you here. We'll talk about some of the other ones once we finish executing this one. There's not much more, there's just a few more, but just a few I wanted to touch upon. So let's go ahead and save up here, and let's go ahead and execute it. Just as a note, if you didn't watch the last episode, if you're going to be using these agent commands, make sure you have include helpers help/helper agent.hps at the top of your script here. If you don't, this has all the necessary functions to be able to execute agent commands and ghoul commands. So make sure you have this here. Before we run our game, let's make sure we have our ghoul hallway entity here spawned in when he enters the area. So we'll say entity set active, and we'll say we'll put our ghoul name here, ghoul hallway, and we'll say true so that he does spawn, and we'll close that out with a semicolon. And let's go ahead and execute our game and test it out. Resuming in 3, 2, 1. Alright, so we're back in our level now, so let's go ahead and give it a shot. So we're going to step through this area here, and we should have a whole bunch of things happen pretty much. The ghoul will spawn, and all that code that we put in will execute. So the main one that we want to keep an eye out for is when we walk through this, he should be looking straight at us as we specified. And he actually shouldn't be aggro towards us since we turned off his senses. So let's walk through. So there he is facing right towards us. And you can see he hasn't like yelled at us or anything because his senses are off. And if we look at the bottom left, we're gonna see a message come up when we get near him. So let's walk near him. So you can see it says ghoul entered range. So that callback that we have worked properly. You can see that the message came up. If we back off here and we get out of his range, ghoul left range. So the exit command works too, and this should just run non-stop pretty much every time he enters them and leaves. Of course, you can like have a global variable set in there and have it only run once or something. And you can see he's not doing anything towards us. Since we disabled the senses, he just kind of stands there and does nothing. So that's good. So now what we're gonna test now is have the auto disable callback work properly. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna need to get about 15 units away from him, and we can't be we can't be looking at him. We can't have line of sight with him. So let's go ahead and back off and go into that corner over here, and let's not look at him. So let's go over here and we look at the bottom left. We should see a message. You see that? It says the ghoul despawn. We did put that message. So that's the callback that we did. It's the ghoul despawn. So we look over, the ghoul is gone, and he despawned and everything. So that works properly. Very, very useful commands to know. Lets you get some very good control over your ghoul and your level as a whole. So very good to know. Let's go ahead and go back to our script now, and there's just a few other ones I want to talk about, just more miscellaneous but still very useful. So let's go ahead and go back over. Alright, so we're back in our script. So we're just gonna make a new line here, and we'll talk about some other ones. Oh, and just since I made a mention to it in the level, I said a global function to disable this this here, what was it here? It was this one right here, on distance player Ghoul hallway. You could do something like you make a global variable. So we had a global variables right here, my global variables. So let's say we do, int, we say int, let's say distance callback. Well, let's just say something. It doesn't really matter too much. We're not going to keep this code anyways. Distance callback ran, and we'll say 0, which will mean false, just 1 equals, which means just pretty much being false. And then we'll say when Ghoul enter range or left range, we can just say like distance callback ran equals 1, and put the semicolon there. So and then what we'll do is say like if we'll stay equals 1, so if all stay equals 1, and we'll say and we say distance callback ran equals 1 or 0, then we will do this. So pretty much what this saying is, if we haven't run it yet, if this callback hasn't run yet and the state equals 1, then we're going to do this, and then we'll make sure to set it to 1. That way this won't run again. And you put the same thing here. You could do you could change this to an if and do the same thing here. Just an example. Of course, you don't have to do that if you want it to run every time. So we'll clear these out. And let's go back here and let's talk about the last few agent commands we want to talk about. So first one we'll talk about agent player. Let me just clear this, make sure we type it in. Agent player detected. So again, you can see the description here. Checks if agent has detected the player. So it checks to see if that Ghoul has detected the player, and it's just the true or false. So we type it here. We just type in the agent name. So we'll say Ghoul hallway, and we'll close it here. So useful in an if statement. If you have like an if statement, like here, like if you want to check to see if the player has been detected by the Ghoul. If agent player detected Ghoul hallway, we don't need the semicolon if we have it in the if statement. If the player was detected, if this Ghoul detected the player, then we can run some kind of code here. So let's go ahead and just put this up here. I just kind of want to leave it on the screen here, but we'll comment it out here. So useful if you need to check that. Next one is agent. This is a very big one actually. Reveal player position. So exactly what exactly in the name of the function is exactly what it does. It will reveal the player position to the enemy, which means that the enemy will know exactly where the player is as soon as you run this command. So when this runs, the Ghoul will run right towards the player or whatever. He'll know exactly where the player is. So very useful for scripted events when you want the Ghoul to find out where the player is when the player is trying to hide or something. So again, you just type in the name of the Ghoul hallway, and comma, and then the next one, it's a Boolean. This is a true or false. Pretty much it means if the Ghoul has already detected the player, should he redetect? All this will really do is make him do like the redetection animation, like where he yells or whatever you have scripted for him to do. So really this doesn't need to be true. This could just be false. By default, since it has the equals false, by default it is false. So you don't really have to put anything, you just do that. If you want it to be true, then you put a comma and you put false. Very useful, shows the player position to the Ghoul. Very useful for scripted events. Now the next one we're going to talk about is we'll do the set blinded. So we'll say agent set blinded. Won't retype it. I'll just leave it like that, blinded. And then this will be the name. So this will be the name of the Ghoul. So will be Ghoul hallway. And then next line will be whether you want him to be blinded or not. So true or false. So in this case, true. We want the ghoul to be blinded. Comma, space, and then this will be the time you want to specify for the blind effect to occur. You can set this to whatever amount of seconds. So like if you want to do 10 seconds blinded, you can do this. If you want it to last infinitely until you rerun this command and set it to false, you can set it to something less than 0. So you can say like -1, 1.0f, and this will run forever. It will blind them forever until you rerun this command and say this is false. So useful to know. And I'll kind of quickly pass over this one because this is identical, and this is the set deafened command. So this is a completely identical to this one here. Does exactly the same thing. You put in the exact same variables, except instead he won't be able to hear the player. He can only see the player, and you know this one's vice versa. He can't see the player, but he can hear the player. So useful commands there. I won't even bother typing this one here. Actually, we'll just copy the stuff from in here. Paste in here. It's identical. And again, same thing. -1 for infinite. So those two, use them however you want, but again, very useful. Maybe you just want a ghoul that can hear but can't see, and vice versa, you know. And I think that's all the ones. Yeah, that's all the ones I wanted to talk about here. Those are pretty much a majority of the agent commands. There are more. I'll bring up some here, but some don't completely pertain to ghouls. And let's see. Let's kind of scroll through these. Yeah, so some of these are just controlling animations, like getting cutscenes or active, and certain cutscene animations and playing entities. So some other ones could be useful to you, but I feel like I skipped out on just a few, like set sound volume. You know, that's not completely important. Set whether the agent will collide with the environment, so whether he collides with like walls and stuff like that. And yeah, so these again, teleport feet to entity, teleports the agent's foot position to a specific. So I just felt these didn't really need a mention. I don't think these are make or break, but feel free to look through these and see if there's any that you might want to see. Cutscenes and animations we will talk about in future episodes, so we're just gonna skip on this one because it's something that I want to talk about in this one. In this episode, we kind of just want to focus on our ghoul and our enemies. So we'll go ahead and call it there, guys. Those are pretty much all the agent commands. Sorry if I was choked up a bit. I have a bit of a sore throat, and just trying my best to get through this video. But that's gonna be it. I hope you guys can use these commands in your custom story and get some more detail out of your ghoul. I know a lot of you guys been showing support, and you guys really enjoy this ghoul stuff. So I'm gonna keep going on with this. We got at least another 2 episodes, but I'm thinking maybe 3 or 4 more just talking about ghouls alone. So definitely look forward to those. Make sure you leave a like, you comment on the video, let me know what you like, if anything you think I missed, or anything you didn't understand, and let me know what you want to see in future episodes too. And if you're not already subscribed, make sure you hit subscribe and subscribe to the channel. We got a lot more fun videos like this one coming forward. And if you missed me saying it in the last episode, I'm going to be trying to upload on a schedule Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. 1 video on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So 3 videos a week, and I'm going to try and keep that schedule going as long as possible. But yeah, I'm going to wrap it up here, guys. Have a good day, and bye.